My Hero Academia, everyone's staple anime back in 2020. You know, during the Humi isolation, where nobody could leave their houses unless you were an essential worker, which I was, and you had to wear masks everywhere you went. Hey mates, it's Kana Mates. With the end of a popular manga/anime like My Hero Academia was, a lot of fans are going to be heartbroken. I remember back during its hype, lots of artists, such as myself, were popping out OCs and backstories like it was nothing. And for all of us, creating superheroes for the show was magical and so much fun. It was, quite frankly, very inspiring. I mean, unless you were one of those artists, and you know very well who I'm talking about. But we're not gonna get into that today. We're here to talk about OCs. My OCs. Woo! I didn't just have one OC, I had 5, not counting the side characters that I made or family members. And we're going to talk about them today, while also stretching out our design muscles. I've been meaning to redesign these guys for a long time. It was way overdue. My art has come such a long way since I last drew them, and I really want to show that off, while also challenging myself to reinvent these characters. These guys are a big part of me and were a big part of my art journey back then, and I really cannot wait to share them with you. Anyway, let's get on with the speed paint. Y'all have heard me ramble enough. Let's go! I just want to note before we get started that a lot has changed with both me and how I create characters and how these characters were back in the day. Mainly that all of these characters besides I Roa are adults, she's a student, and just drawing them again is very self-fulfilling, and I didn't realize just how attached to these characters I was until I started drawing them again. Even if I never use them again, a part of me will always reside in these characters and My Hero Academia. Anyway, let's get started. Starting off with Taro, he was my main MHA OC character back in 2020. Back then, he was aggressive and smug and had a mightier-than-thou personality, along with a terribly dark backstory and a hard-to-control quirk. Basically, half of the OCs that are out there. He's a carbon copy of most of them. All of that has changed now, of course, but his appearance has barely changed at all. I struggled with trying to find a hero outfit that suited him. Back then, Taro sported a mix of both tight and baggy clothes, and I tried incorporating that into the sketch. I struggled with where to exactly show skin so that his quirk would be useful. Oh! His quirk used to be this hallucinatory gas that would come from the pores of his skin and would make people, well, hallucinate. His quirk now has to do with his name, Bubble Tea. Taro Bubble Tea. The more bubble tea or any sweet drink or food that he consumes, the more sticky, sweet, glue-like substance can come from his pores and be used to stick things together like glue. If he really wanted to, he could use it to swing on buildings like Spider-Man. I just thought that'd be a cute, fun visual to draw someday. It also has an intoxicatingly sweet smell that's known to make people really hyper, like eating a whole bucket of Halloween candy. So he has to wear a mask to prevent himself from smelling it. Anyways, as you can see with the speed paint, I ended up settling with a crop top and baggy sweatpants, cause why not? The silhouette is gonna look amazing, and it gives him that hourglass figure I wanted for him. The rest was more on the easier side with finding colors that suited him. He still had his side-parted hair that he sported back in the day, though it lost its cotton candy gradient. I played with adding dark streaks, but couldn't find the one that I liked, so I gave up on it. I ended up adding the dark color to the shaved hair on the side of his head. I guess since we're here, I might as well talk about the new story and personality Taro has. Taro acts as team leader for this 5-person squad. When he was around I Roa's age, he went to school with the others on his team. He wanted to be a pro hero like All Might, but knew he wouldn't be able to do it on his own. So gathering his 3 friends from the academy, they created a team where they could help people. The team itself is more of like ensuring the people's safety, like a rescue squad. They don't go against many bad guys, and if any, not very strong ones. Taro has had to develop a leadership mentality and learn to be kind. He treats the members of his team like family, and they all kind of live near each other. I headcanon, can I say headcanon if he's my OC? Anyway, I headcanon that he constantly brags about his team to any of the other pro heroes in like a look at my kids type way, and constantly tries to foot the bill if they all go out to eat together. That doesn't mean that the stress of leadership doesn't weigh down on him though. A lot of the time, Taro can't get sleep because he's constantly worrying if he's doing a good job as team leader. His teammates always try to reassure him though. And that's Taro, my boy! I did lie a little bit. Back then, Megumi Aki was actually my main character before I switched it to Taro. Now, she's just one of the team's main defenses. Her outfit and hero design was actually one of the easiest to come up with, much so that I don't really have much to say about it. I already had a solid idea for her, and that idea was in one of her past drawings where she's wearing a white and blue bodysuit. I knew with her body type I wanted her to be round, and I wanted to incorporate a lot of circles into her costume. I wanted it to represent her quirk, which is a form of chakra shields. Basically, she's using the energy in her body to create a shield around herself or anybody in a close range of distance to protect them. The shields usually take a round bubble-like form. The bigger the shield, the weaker it becomes. So I headcanon that she learned martial arts and forms small shields around her arms and legs and uses it for like close combat, dealing some pretty good damage. As for how she was back then, Meg was a typical MHA OC where she was strong, powerful, and inspirational. She was the straight man in any scenario and always took things a little too literally. Now though, she's spunky and a little ditzy. She basically has this ready-to-go attitude and will basically throw herself into any battle she comes across. The team worry about their token gremlin constantly, and Hiroto has to keep a close eye on her. Oh yeah, one of the traits that I decided to keep with Meg from the past was her relationship with Hiroto. Trait? Relationships aren't a trait. There's traits in relationships. Whatever. Anyway, they're engaged now, about to be married, and they balance each other out very nicely. Anyways, back to the speed paint. Right now I'm just finishing up colors, getting everything sorted out, and that's it. That's basically Meg. That's my little gremlin girl. I love her so much. And now we go on to Hiroto, my little tired boy. Honestly, I had a couple ideas for a hero costume for him from the get-go, but I still experimented with a couple different styles. I couldn't decide if I wanted to go more costume or casual with him, and ended up just going casual. I feel like it fits his character a lot more anyways to do a casual outfit. This boy is way too tired to put on lots of layers. It's pretty punk and kind of emo, and that fits his personality a lot. Back then, he was really edgy and more antagonizing. The biggest thing that I changed from how he was back then was he's no longer a creep. Back then, I wanted to prove this point with his character by making him more like Mineta. That point being, if Mineta was hot, more people would like him. I still believe that to this day. Look at all the other perverts in anime that are good looking that people fall all over. I'm looking straight at Yunogasai here. My point being, I completely erased that from his personality now. He's more tired and laid back and groggy, and that's due to his quirk. His quirk hasn't changed, it's still psychic constructs. It uses a lot of energy from his body so that he can create weapons out of it. The boy is constantly drinking energy drinks and getting lots and lots of sleep because of how often he's tired. And in his and Meg's shared house, he has a whole side fridge filled with energy drinks. He also uses his quirk to help with chores around the house as well, like making a broom to clean, or if they're missing a spoon to make dinner, he'll use his quirk to do that. He's the team's main attack, and he's easily one of the strongest. He and Meg are like a sword and shield type duo, and they constantly fight side by side so he can keep an eye on her. He loves her and cares about her more than his own well-being. Honestly, I really hate how this drawing turned out. I'm not proud of any of the reference sheets besides Hoshi, who is next, but reference sheets aren't meant to be perfect. They're just meant to be a solid foundation for character design, and that's what I'm going to choose to believe. I know my art has improved since drawing these, and I'm going to try not to beat myself up too much about it. Finishing off with Hiroto, I basically just mixed a lot of his old design with his newer designs, and it looks pretty nice. I like how he looks, just not how the art looks. Now on to Hoshi! Oh my goodness, I am so proud of her design. I cannot stress this enough. Like, I don't know if God himself directed me on how to make her look good, but she just looks good! I have lots to say about all of the color choices that I used. Let me just go ahead and start out with the cloud hair. I knew I wanted her to have cloud hair. In all of her past designs, she's always had like a side swipe thing going on, but I don't know why I never thought to make it a cloud. Her quirk is weather, for goodness sake. Anyways, in most of her old designs, she wore a yellow raincoat that I decided to keep. I wanted her to be dressed for any kind of weather that she could create. She's wearing a swimsuit, a raincoat, and the inside of that raincoat is insulated with like a Sherpa kind of material to keep her warm just in case she creates like a blizzard or something. I made the inside of her eyes reminiscent of that one really famous Japanese water painting and made them all droopy and sad. Back then, she used to be a villain working with the League themselves, but now she works with Taro and the others against the League. I'm still not sure if I want the League to be part of her past, but I know that she wants to be good and she wants to help. She has to keep her emotions in check, kind of like that one character from Encanto. She's mostly just really sad, so a lot of her weather is rainy. Her quirk is based on her moods. If she's angry, she can make the area really hot and humid. If she's sad, rainy. If she's scared, she can make it kind of like a blizzard or like a whirlwind. Basically, she's a loose cannon and she really needs to keep her emotions in check, or else she could accidentally wipe out a whole city with a torrential storm or something. She's easily the oldest out of them, still in her late 20s, early 30s though. Outside of hero work, I'd say she models for any type of seasonal wear to make extra money on the side. She can be a real wet blanket sometimes and puts up a wall in between her and others. She can only truly be herself around her team. Deep in her heart, she wishes that someone would take this burden of a quirk away from her so she can finally feel emotions again. That's why originally she worked with the League of Villains, with the promise that once All For One took over the world, he would take her quirk from her so she could live normally. Her story is pretty sad, but she finds joy being with her friends and helping mentor I Roa and help save the lives of people. And that brings us to our final character! The literal team baby, I Roa Namikawa, is a student interning with Taro's team. Kind of like the other UA students, she gets the chance to work with pro heroes and learn about the job. She's probably around Izuku's age and is in another class during the events of the anime/manga, meaning she isn't in class 1A or even 1B. Originally, her quirk was the ability to turn into a porcupine for some reason, but with this redesign, I wanted to make her power true to her name. She has the ability to control surrounding nature. Unlike the girl with vines for hair that's in the anime, I Roa can only use nature surrounding her to fight/defend. Her quirk is really useful in places like forests, and in cities, she has to really scrounge for plants to fight with. I Roa is terribly kind and would give anybody the shirt off her back if it made them happy. She loves nature and has a small balcony garden at her dormitory room. I'm not too proud of this redesign. I wanted to give her a gardener look with greenish overalls, big brown gloves, and lots of flower pins and buttons, but I don't think I executed that well. Maybe I'll play around with it more after this video until I'm satisfied. She's mainly in her UA uniform anyway, so I'm not gonna stress it. And I guess I can admit this. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of shipping her with a canon character. Take me away! As a creator I like called Inkyo says, to be cringe is to be free. I ship I Roa with Aoyama. They're cute and he's still my favorite character, so don't judge me too harshly. But that about wraps it up for I Roa. Literal team baby, she's very sweet, very kind, not proud of her design. Ooh, she's a work in progress. We'll get back to her later. And that's everyone! Everyone's done! Woo! Look at them! Oh, I love them, but I also am not that proud of them. They're a work in progress if I ever decide to use them again. You guys maybe will be seeing them. I don't know. My final thoughts are, it was really interesting to dive into their characters again. I forgot just how much I actually really loved these characters and how much of an impact they really had on my art journey. I remember meeting a lot of cool people, some not so cool people through this fandom, and while I'm not a part of it anymore, a part of it will always be with me. And honestly, thank you guys for even clicking on this video and listening to me ramble for some odd minutes about my OCs and, you know, just talk about my art journey and all that stuff. Thank you guys. And on that note, this is where I say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my art and my OC ramblings and possible story times in the future. Thank y'all for watching again, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye!